Thanks for coming and clicking on this video. This is going to be just an update on my GT Distortion. If you hadn't just watched my previous video of wherever it's going to be in the frame, I explained that my frame is cracked. This bike's going to be probably broken down in the next 15 minutes after the video is being done made, and unfortunately that crack is there, and crossing my fingers that the weld is going to fix it, and it'll be a long lifetime fix for the rear triangle because I want to ride this thing forever. Maybe not super realistic. Anywho, so let's get on to the actual bike. So this is my 2012 Distortion. If you've already watched the last video I made on it, my dream bike back in middle school, could never afford it because it was like over $3,000 back in the day. I don't even know how much money it cost, but I ended up buying one in 2021. This is it. So anywho, I got it as this complete crapshoot of a bike. It was a bike that was assembled with a bunch of random ass parts that weren't really good. I'm quite sure I overpaid for it, but this was the frame I wanted. So it started off with a Fox tailless. It started with a rear RockShox Monarch shock. It had used bearings in the pivots. It had some MT200 brakes on it. The front one that leaked at the reservoir. The back one was brand new with like about an extra 3 feet of hose to it. Full XT drivetrain. What else? Some plastic pedals that were worn to hell grips, and a 3x. 180 millimeters up front, but it was 160 in the rear. Resin pads and rotor in the rear, and metallic in the front. So it's just this whole hodgepodge of I don't know what's going on. So I've since updated with this bike. I've updated it in the I added a dropper because first bike with a dropper, absolutely I don't want to live without one. Especially for this kind of riding. I can ride a solid seat post for a lot of things, but throwing a bike around and trying to go fast, it's not worth having a seat up your ass. Replaced the grips with some ODI Ruffians, and I absolutely love those. Mine are kind of starting to run out. I gotta buy refills for it sometime. They are flanged grips because I like the look of them. I got this bike with flanges and I liked it, so I continue to do it. I ended up changing the rear shock to a Fox DPS, a float DPS. Really love that shock. It is not the Kashima coated bougie one, but honestly it seemed like diminishing return for a shock that cost another like $150. The Monarch was completely toast. Somebody probably tore that apart, messed it up, and even my suspension shop couldn't fix it. So I'm happy I went down this route. 3-position damper on it, so you have a lockout, a firm, and open. I ended up replacing the drivetrain on it. I smashed the third chainring, the big one, at a skate park, so that didn't really work very well for chain retention. So I ended up replacing that. I replaced the chain probably like 3 times since then. I ended up replacing the cassette. I ended up replacing the jockey wheels on the derailleur. But other than that, like the drivetrain is still the same setup, and the reason of why is I really like it. I'm running a 3x, which is super duper not common by today's standards, and a lot of people will probably give me crap for running it. A lot of people tell me to get rid of it, but the reason why I don't is this is my overall bike. I use this for everything. So as I was trying to say, not only do I take this on trails and stuff, and I take it down hills in bike parks, I also do indoor parks like Ray's, and also our local indoor skate park out in Rochester, Breaking Free, which is a tight spot. I have an indoor setup for it. I have a separate wheel set, some Mavics that came on the bike, and I had to rebuild the rear wheel because the hub died. Put an XT hub on there, and I've got some Schwabe Billy Bonker tires on it, tan wall, so it's a really pretty bike, especially in the winter. But I also use it on the road. I will take just long bike rides just because I want to. And having that third gear really helps it for when you're going downhill and you're trying to propel yourself as far off of that momentum from having the hill. And I don't really want to give that up. So that's the reason why I'm running it. And it also seems like parts are a bit cheaper, being that they're not the cutting edge of bike technology, and It poses a little bit of a problem in the fact that you can't always buy parts, but so far I've been able to buy everything for this drivetrain. The 3x shifts incredibly well. This has been the easiest to set up and the easiest to use front derailleur setup on a bike I've ever used. Super fast, easy, simple. I love it. The rear is a Shimano Rapid Fire XT shifter, and that skips 2 gears with a front pull or a rear push, which is awesome. I love it. Metal tabs for the upshifts are awesome too. And let's see what else we got. I ended up changing those plastic pedals out for some Spank spikes. Absolutely love those pedals. They have such good retention on shoes. Honestly, I mostly just use like tennis shoes when I'm riding. Not the best pair of shoes for it, but flat feet, I have to have my arches. It helps me have a longer, comfortable ride. I ended up also upgrading the brakes from the MT200s to some Shimano Deore XTs, which are, I think they're like a M8100, if I'm correct. So those are the 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes. They also have the nice cooling fins. Honestly, they're nice brakes. Not the bitiest when they're cool, but super confidence inspiring for me. They work perfect. I love the reach for the fingers. I have some Code R's on my downhill bike. I love those. Those are nice. They've definitely got more, what would you say, progressive brake levers. You just have more feel. They're not on and off like the Shimano's, as everybody says. Honestly, I like both of them, so I don't think you could go wrong with either. But I ended up going for the XTs on here, as this is a pretty much fully spec'd XT bike. I love it. I also ended up upgrading the rear rotor to 180 millimeters to match the front, which actually the front's a 185. That's how I got it. So I ended up just continuing that. What else do we got going here? Yes, that was a fun ordeal. So I was riding the bike last year, having a lot of fun, just going through like a basic trail, which is not a trail. It was one of my neighbor's lawns, just going through the grass, and it was on a downhill with a few little layers to it, so you can jump off of them, kind of go down, get a little bit of speed, but really nothing hard and really not brutal on the bike. Well, the Fox Talus said, okay, hasta la vista, see you later, never again. And well, the fork that started off with 140 millimeters of travel, which is about 5.5 inches, all of a sudden gained about another 2 inches out of nowhere. When I was going down the hill that last little bit, I could hear like a metallic ting, and it almost sounded like the brake rotor, but it was kind of strange. And I ended up realizing the fork grew, and what that ended up being is one of the circlips underneath the air spring. Well, that came undone, and the whole entire stanchion, I let out the guts a little bit, and it was, I can't tell you 100%. I took it to the shop to have them take care of it, but that's what it ended up being. So I got worried that I wasn't going to be able to fix that fork, and it was a Fox Talus. Fox Taluses, unfortunately, they're a cool bit of technology, but they are not very well supported. Fox has dropped all support for all of their models. The only things you can buy for them is just your oils and your wiper seals, essentially, because they're the same between any other float version of that stanchion size. So you can't really get very much help for them, and you can't even send them to Fox to have them restore it. Unfortunately, that's just the ugly reality of the Talus. So I ended up going online, and I got a really good deal on a used Fox Float 36. I really didn't expect to be able to find one. Somebody ended up reaching out to me to help me, and it was more than well appreciated. Like, I'm super humbled that that guy reached out to me to try to help me. I had to find a fork that was essentially an older standard. It had to be a 100 by 115 non-boost. It needed to be a 26-inch fork, and I had to have enough steer for it. And in the ad, when I was looking to buy one, I wanted to find either a 34 or a 36, and I really didn't think I was going to be able to find a 36. And this guy ended up reaching out to me. out of North Carolina, and he told me that he had this fork just sitting around and collecting dust, and it ended up being a 36. It came off of a Noli Warden, and it's a beefy fork. Honestly, I am in love with it. I think that the damper could probably be refreshed, but aside from that, like, it's been an incredible bike, and the fork has been an incredible upgrade to it. It has high and low speed compression, and there's a single rebound, so it's not the Grip 2 damper, but you know what, for the money I paid for it, I'm more than thrilled to be running it. It's great. So from there we can go up to a little bit more of, you know, creature comforts. So I ended up changing the bars on the bike. It came with some ODI flight control bars, and in case you didn't know that those were a thing, ODI did actually make bars at one point, and I am running those on the hardtail at 737 millimeters wide, and they start off as a 700 millimeter bar, and you can actually buy extensions for the ends of your bars. There's little caps that thread into the bar, and you tighten them with an Allen key, and you actually can lengthen your bars, or, you know, narrow them if you need to, which is cool. But when I bought this fork, I bought it, and I don't remember checking the steer length, but, or maybe I didn't put it through the steer on the bike to see how much it actually came up. So anyway, it is a slammed steer tube. So essentially what you see now is as long as it is, period. The other guy must have cut it down quite a bit to you know, slacken it, or to condense the bike a bit, and thankfully it ended up working for me. So I also ended up changing the stem on it to a Spank Spike bars. They were 800 widths that I had cut down to 760s. 760s are absolutely through and through my size. I love them. And I think, oh, I completely missed a whole nother thing. And the last video, I was saying that I was playing with the idea of building wheels for this bike. Well, I did. This is my first set of brand new wheels from scratch that I had to assemble, and I did a really good job on them. I have never had an issue with these wheels over the last 2 years of me riding them. I put them together at the end of, I think it was 21. It was like October of 21 that I assembled them, and it is now May of 23, and the only thing that has gone wrong with it is I've bent one of the spokes, which I still need to replace, but the wheels are still like super true for what they're worth. I think I want to just put a little bit more tension on them, but aside from that, no issues, no reliability issues, no cracks, no spokes pulling out. Put them together with some Spank Spike Race 33 wheels, so 33 millimeters wide, which is wider than anything I've ever owned, but not too wide where you lose your corner knobs. I love them. They're a really nice compromise between strength, weight, and grip for your tires. I put them together with, I think they were some Sapiums. I don't know. I can always not pronounce that name right, but Sapim, S-A-P-I-M. Anyway, I put them together with their race spokes, which are pretty nice. These are J-bends, which were nice, simple and easy, 32 holes. I laced those to some Hope Tech hubs. They are Hope Tech Pro 4s, front and rear. I think the rear's got like 44 points of engagement, or maybe a little bit more than that. So not the Hope 5s with like 105, wherever it is, but honestly a nice clicking hub. I've since laced a fun Phantom hub to my downhill bike, which has 104 points of engagement. I definitely see the benefits of more engagement. So this one seems like it has a little bit less now because it's about half, but still a nice hub and super duper reliable. I'm just gonna go through the bike and refresh it soon. I gotta do the damper, the wiper seals on the fork. I was gonna do that until I discovered the crack, and then I just kind of put in ice. I'm also running a wolf tooth dropper lever on here, and I like it. It works pretty good. Also, one more upgrade, which is not actually the bike, but helps me. So I ended up buying a full face helmet, which is my first real biking enduro helmet, really, and it's a Fox Pro frame. I got it used for like a hell of a steal, no cracks or dents in it, which was awesome. I really feel like this is what really elevated my ride a lot too. This has been incredible for confidence of just knowing that I'm not going to smash my teeth. Aside from that, I know that I need more pads, but just knowing that I don't have to worry about my jaw is huge. And I really like the looks of it. I hope that the color scheme complements the bike enough. I also got it with the mainstay goggles with the nice reflective color shift lenses. They're getting pretty scratched, so I'm gonna have to end up replacing those soon. But yeah, this is my rig. Oh, also, I have the indoor setup with the Billy Bonkers, and I also ended up building a 27.5 wheel for this bike because the fork is actually a 27.5, and it's a pretty cool setup. I use that for when I ride Hollymont and do some like downhill stuff where it's faster. It rakes out the bike a little bit more, and I'm running a Maxxis Minion DHF up front, and holy cow, are they a grippy tire setup. They're awesome. And I'm used to running my high roller 2s, which are awesome, but going to those, you can definitely feel there's a little bit more resistance when you are turning, and there's a lot more cut. But both great tires. Really, this bike does it all for me. So if you have any questions about the frame, any interest about this old vintage bike that not a lot of people care about,